Captain's log. Stardate 9876543221. Despite having to survive on this primitive planet without the use of a ship's computer, and as a byproduct being totally unaware of what the actual stardate is, progress in the hostile alien planet crash landing recovery kit proceeds ahead of schedule, allowing me time to attend to a few personal matters. Reviewing the notes of the hostile alien planet crash landing recovery kit, we've successfully completed Step 1, build the burner base. We've completed Step 2, build the base builder, and we've completed Step 3, build the base. Unfortunately, due to the incomprehensible shorthand left by Science Officer Svensen, rest in peace, it remains unclear what was meant by Gitfoot. But one thing is clear, we are going to launch a rocket. Checklist. Thruster suit, check. Jetpack, check. Fuel cells, check. Radioisotope thermoelectric generator, check. Batteries, check. Exoskeleton, check. Roboport, check. Grappling gun, check. Life support, check. Rocket silo, check. Cargo rocket sections, check. Space capsule, check. Rocket fuel, check. Solar panels, check. Scaffolding, check. Space belts, check. Space pipes, check. Landing pads, check. Delivery chest, check. Electric boiler, check. Fluid isothermic generator, check. Big mining drill, check. Space assembly machine, check. Beacons, check. Meteor defense installation, check. Meteor defense ammo, check. Roboports, check. Signal receiver, check. Signal transmitter, check. Storage, check. Science, check. Inserters, check. Other crap, check. 54321, blast off. One small step for Zisteau kind, one giant step for Zisteau. Wow! Ship exploded! We landed on the satellite. Looks like we still have most of our cargo, and I brought some space scaffold and some storage containers, but I did bring something a little bit better. See if I can find it. Aha. Bam! Yeah, that's better. There we go. And I guess we're going to need some roboports, huh? I did bring some of those, but I think those are also in some random chests, so they're not going to put anything in there, because they don't recognize it as being within any kind of network. All right, here we go. Okay, I think I've managed to clean everything up, and I also emptied out these chests that were sitting out here on this satellite. Got a little bit of a platform, some roboports, and two giant storage warehouses full of all the stuff we brought. What's left of it anyway. I think we maybe lost a little bit of it due to the crash, but doesn't look like that much. I am suffocating. Oh, I put life support capsules in there. Maybe I want to keep those on me. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. I've just been dumping everything in my inventory into here. Turns out that's a bad idea, and now that everything's sort of put away, I do want to organize it a bit. And voila, we have the beginnings of our initial space base. I brought with me in this initial trip 3,000 or 4,000 space scaffolding, and that has just completely vanished in an instant. We are in space, so there's no puff of smoke, there's only void. But it gave me enough room, at least, to put down some meteor defense installation so that we don't get pulverized by some falling rocks. And we also have a cargo landing pad, which I've placed. So next time when we show up, we should land on that instead of crashing. Our initial rocket contained a space capsule, which we can enter and which we can go back to the surface. So that's nice. And when I launched the initial satellite rocket last episode, we discovered this thing up in space with some advanced tech. This stuff is kind of out of reach for now. I can't manufacture it for some time. It's going to be a while before we can research this stuff. But there's some flat solar panels you can walk on. That's pretty neat. There's this radar construction pylon, which is like a combination radar, roboport, and a 64x64 substation all in one. Won't be able to make one of those in a long time. There was also some chests sitting here. And I moved everything in those chests over to here, for the most part. This is all advanced stuff that we can't really make yet. Construction pylon, pylon substation, a cryo gun, some bloat burst ammo. But one thing they did give us is some rocket science pack to help us out with our initial next phase of research. I've put some solar panels of my own down, and they are way up here. Turns out you can just build into space. So I've just put some big electric poles. Oh, hi, autosave. Get the hell out of here, autosave. I put some big electric poles so that our future expansions of our base wouldn't get in the way of our solar panels and vice versa. And then in the chest, we've got all the stuff I brought with me. A smattering of each different type of science pack we can make, some storage options, some trains, which will work in space, but not on the default railroads. Be a while before we'll be able to use those. Some additional landing pads, a smattering of building materials, belts, power poles, inserters, etc. So we've established a pretty good foothold up here in space. We've got a lot of supplies, we've got storage, we've got roboports, we've got power, we've got meteor defense, we've got all the things we need except for a surface to build on. This scaffolding doesn't go very far. So we need to go back to our home planet, Nauvis, and we need to load up a second rocket, this time with a crap load of this scaffolding stuff. And to do that, we're going to use this space capsule here, which was part of our initial rocket. And I guess we just get in and we click launch. It's just that easy. Oh, and then we just plop, we're back. Okay, nice cinematic. And we're here. And I guess this thing, I can just pick it back up. It's in my inventory, and I suppose we just recycle that thing endlessly. It goes right back in there. We can start filling them up with rocket cargo sections, but that should be the easy part. The hard part is going to be manufacturing all that scaffolding. So first thing to do, we're going to need a ton of this stuff, so let's set up a giant requester warehouse here so that the robots can just deliver it, and for now, we're just going to hand feed it into the rocket. A little bit later, we will automate all this stuff when I have a better idea of just what we need and in what kind of numbers. We need a lot of it, let's say 5K, something like that for now. So this base is very much a starter base. It's designed to do 90 science per minute and to have a limited capacity for launching satellite rockets and for launching cargo rockets. It's not really designed to be upgraded, but I have tried to eke out a little bit more performance where I can in the form of some productivity modules, which is a little bit easier to do in the space exploration mod pack because space exploration rebalances how beacons work. Instead of having all your machines being hit by 8 or 12 beacons at a time, each machine can only be hit by 1 beacon at a time, which makes beacons stronger. They have more module slots in space exploration, but it also means that it's a little bit easier to just pepper them around to get some productivity bonuses out of your existing base. And so I've done that where I can, but this layout was not really designed for that. And so I can't even hit all the machines without having them conflict. I'll show you what happens if I were to just, let's say, put a beacon here. You can see these machines instantly all shut down because I have hit them with 2 beacons at a time, so they're not going to do anything. So eventually we will make an entirely new base, which is going to be much bigger and much faster and built from the get-go with beacons and productivity in mind. At the moment, I've managed to squeeze a little bit of extra juice out of our base. We're getting 30% extra green circuits and 30% extra red circuits, which means we can make more blue circuits. And then down here is where all of the rocket launching stuff is getting made. We got our rocket control units and our low density structures. And this is the space exploration heat shielding. Over here, we've got cargo pod, and this over here is rocket fuel tank. These guys are used to make the cargo rocket sections. And all of this stuff originally was assembly machine 2s, and now I've updated them to assembly machine 3s, and we've added beacons and modules. And we might even be able to extend the line a little bit since we're getting productivity all around. But really, our capacity overall is going to be pretty limited. So while we're waiting for the scaffolding to be manufactured, we may as well launch some additional satellite rockets. Here is our overall goal for the near term, to start generating rocket science packs. This is the list of ingredients. This replaces the white science packs from vanilla, and these have to be crafted in space in a space manufactory. Empty barrels is no big deal, and solid rocket fuel we can make no problem, but the other ones are all brand new. The satellite telemetry we get from the satellite rockets. So let's go ahead and start loading her up. Set all these guys ready to go. We will be making some rocket parts. And the rocket's ready. Let's give it a satellite. Okay. Click launch. And it should spit out some telemetry as soon as the thing is gone. There we go. We got 200 satellite telemetry. I guess we'll send that up to space as well. And in addition, we discovered a new moon, Riven. Discovered locations can be viewed in the Universe Explorer by hitting U, or we can hit N to bring up the navigation satellite. We can go to the system map. We have a new moon in our system. Pretty cool. Let's take a look. It's got iron ore, coal, crude oil, uranium, a little bit of vulcanite. That's interesting because we're going to need some vulcanite to craft vulcanite blocks. That's one of the requirements for our rocket science pack. Pretty cool. So it seems like we're going to discover new things every time we launch one of these satellites. So I suppose we should keep doing that, and maybe we can find a good source of vulcanite within our system. You discovered a new moon. Chorus. What the heck is Vitamelange? You discovered a new moon. Aquila. It also has Vitamelange. You discovered a new planet. Erislan. It also has Vitamelange. Wow. You discovered another new planet. Mariel. This one's got... Ooh, it's got vulcanite. Nice. You discovered a new star. So it looks like we've discovered the name of a nearby star. It looks just like ours, and I think it has similar stats. And I suppose there's probably planets and moons around here, but we would probably need to discover those on their own, with additional satellites maybe. So here is our star, Calidus, not sure how that's supposed to be pronounced. And I suppose since we discovered a star, we've probably discovered all the planets and moons, and also discovered 2 asteroid belts. And there's a few things we can toggle here. We can show high danger zones, which, at least in my system, just displays the asteroid belts. And we can show the resources, which is pretty cool. And if we're looking for something in particular, like the vulcanite, then this is probably a good way to look for it. And there's also some statistics. The skull is how many aliens are there, I think. The solar panels is how strong the sunlight is. It's much stronger in orbit. And I think it gets much stronger closer to the planet. So if I wanted to make a big solar farm, if we later get the ability to beam power between areas, we would want to make it close to a star. Look at that, 1500% solar panel ratio. That's pretty cool. But I think we're done discovering areas for a little while, and our cargo rocket is full once again, this time with tons of scaffolding and some additional odds and ends, including a bunch of barreled water. So let's go back up to our outer space base. And this time we landed without a hitch onto the cargo landing pad. Nothing exploded. We get our space capsule back so we can ride that home again. We have this extra one that was here when we got here. So I guess if I ever screw something up or it ever gets destroyed or something, I'm not sure. We always have that extra. We've got all this space scaffolding so we can finally get to work. With the help of a lot of the scaffolding we brought, I've placed down some more solar panels. We've now got a power capacity up here of 500 megawatts, which should be more than enough for some time to come. Because we're in space, our solar panels are getting a 466% bonus. These are all the places we've discovered, by the way, by launching satellite rockets. Every single one of these moons and planets is a place that we can land and make a base at and harvest materials and process them and stuff. And around every single one of those, we can also build in orbit. So we're going to have tons of options coming up. Because we're in orbit, we're technically in a permanent twilight period. So our solar panels are operating at 50% capacity, but they never shut down because there's no nighttime up here. So I guess they're operating at 233% compared to what they would do on land. Down here, I've installed some more of the meteor defense installation so we don't get clobbered by falling rocks. And we also have an umbrella. This giant thing is there to protect us from solar flares, which we will have to deal with eventually. Over here, I've laid out sort of a flow chart for all the machines we'll need to get our new science pack, the space science pack, up and running. Most of the machines we can use on land don't work in space, like the chemical plant can't be placed on space platform or spaceship, nor can the oil refinery, and a lot of our space-specific machines can't be placed on land. This is the Space Science Laboratory, in which we're going to be doing all of our science from now on. Look at all these science packs we're going to have to do eventually. This is ridiculous. So many of them, but we're going to start with just the rocket science pack. Going to get made here in the space manufactory. Here's the different items we'll need for it. The barrels are no big deal. The space telemetry we've been doing with the satellites, rocket fuel, no big deal. We're going to make an outpost on a different planet, probably next episode, to get these vulcanite blocks. So that just leaves these two things we got to make. This one is machine learning data, and this one is chemical gel. And they're not too complicated. They just take some new machines and some new items, so they're unfamiliar at first. The machine learning data gets made in this supercomputer, and it needs some thermofluid and some blank data card and electronic circuits. The thermofluid you just cool by passing it through a thermal radiator, and then I guess the extra heat just radiates off into space and you pass it around in a loop. We're also going to get a byproduct of some scrap, and for now we're just going to send it to a recycling facility and compress it into landfill, put it in a giant container, and forget about it for at least a while. Thermofluid is made in this space manufactory up here. Here's the items it needs: iron, copper, sulfur, no big deal. Heavy oil we will be unbarreling. And then the new item we'll be needing is called cosmic water, and that sounds fancy, but it's pretty straightforward. It's made in this decontamination facility, and it's made with just water and lubricant that we will also have to bring up here and unbarrel. That's kind of no big deal. Other thing we need for the machine learning data is a blank data card made in this big space manufactory, and it's pretty simple too. Red circuits and copper, no big deal. And here's a new item, polished data storage substrate, which is made in this, a decontamination facility. And that's just rough data storage and chemical gel. These are new items, and they seem crazy, but it's all pretty straightforward once you actually break it down. So the substrate is just iron and glass, and that gel is just petroleum with that cosmic water stuff, which sounds fancy. It's just water and lubricant. No big deal. So we've got a bunch of new items that we need to make, and we've got a bunch of items we already know how to make, which we've got to send up into space. Things like water and lubricant and heavy oil and petroleum gas in barrels, and we'll also need red circuits and copper plates and iron plates and stuff like that. So the next thing to figure out is how we're going to get it up here. And the answer to that is going to be these guys, which look a little bit like miniature versions of our meteor defense installations, except instead of being used to shoot falling rocks out of the sky, we are going to use them to shoot items around between our different bases, scattered around planets and moons and orbits and that kind of thing. They are basically just giant guns, so they're going to shoot an item out of this gun thing, and it's going to land somewhere, wherever we tell it to go, in one of these delivery cannon chests. So we can only send very basic items, because I guess anything more complicated would just break upon impact. So only ores and plates and concrete and barreled liquids and other basic materials like that. Once we give them a recipe, you've got to supply that thing, and then they also need a delivery cannon capsule. So let's get that crafted. I set up a little test run here to see if my idea on how this works is actually going to work, or if I don't know how it's going to work. So let's get this going. We're making the sulfur. That's making explosives. And then this is making copper wire. This should be making... oh, we need one more thing connected. There we go. Delivery cannon capsules going up here. I've already set up the recipes. And I set up a little separate area down here in a separate logistics network. So this is going to simulate our space platform. I've placed some delivery cannon chests here, and each of them are hooked up to red wire, and that red wire is going into a signal transmitter. And this is extremely simple. All it's doing is it's reading the contents of what are in these chests, and it's sending that signal through the signal transmitter. The barreled liquids get put on the belt, and then we're going to take the liquid out of the barrels. For now, we're just going to store them in tanks, but up in space, they're going to be crafting things. The barrels are going to go up here, and we can convert them either into steel ingots, if we want to do something with steel ingots, or we can also convert them into scrap, and then we can compress that scrap into landfill. The signal transmitter is getting picked up by this signal receiver, and I've got them both set to a channel which I made called Science, and as our system grows and gets more complicated, we can make new channels so that it doesn't have to be too complicated. And I have the red wire going to the inserters and telling it to shut down if there are too many barrels in those containers so that we don't overfill or destroy things, or I don't even know what, if the containers crash land and there's no space for the items. So let's get these guys loaded up, and we'll have to set some destinations. The water barrels, we are going to list destinations. I guess we don't have to list if we're already on the same planet. Yeah, okay. This is easy enough. When we go to space, I'll have to select the destination, but I think I just put my crosshairs on it, and it's highlighted. It's got those yellow brackets. I do that. Click X. Uh-huh. Payload empty. Maybe I have to... Do I have to tell it to shoot? Boom! Yeah, I guess so. All right. That's nice. Cool. And I gotta tell this one where to go. That one, I want to go here. There goes the barrels. Okay. Tell that one to shoot. And then this one, I want to go to the third one. Tell that one to shoot. Turn that off. Tell it to shoot. Skadoosh! Alright, they're shooting stuff. That's really cool. It's very loud, but it's very cool. Now we'll run down here. Oh my gosh! They're falling from the sky. Okay, that's hilarious. And just to see if this works, let me get rid of these middle tanks so they fill up with liquids faster. Autosave. Thanks. So I guess we need to let these guys fill up. Or I could just get rid of the tanks altogether and let the barrels fill up. We've got the wire reading the contents. So when 2 rows of these should be 200 barrels. When those are full, they should stop firing. This guy is turning our empty barrels into steel ingots if we need steel ingots in space. If not, the rest will get turned into scrap, and we can set up a better system for doing this than what I've got right here. This is just to test the idea. This should turn the scrap into landfill. Compression rate of 100 to 1, which is pretty good. Okay, we've got about 40 barrels, so I guess I'm just going to wait around until it finishes. Dropping objects from the sky. So one more delivery, and it should shut down. There it goes. It's over 200. This one is also over 200, and this one still has a ways to go. All right, let's go check. Did they stop? Did the inserters stop inserting? We get a little red light, which means it's been disabled, and it is no longer inserting. It's really hard to concentrate, by the way, with these explosion gun things going off constantly, but seems like it works. Seems like it has stopped inserting the delivery capsule. Very simple way to set up delivery. So now that we know how to do that, let me walk a little bit farther away because that's so loud it's hard to think straight. Now that we know how to do that, we are very close to setting up space science on our space platform base. But before we do that, next episode, we've got to make an expansion on a completely different planet. We need to go find vulcanite so that we can make vulcanite blocks, which is around here somewhere. There it is, vulcanite blocks. We need to do that next. We need to set up shop on an entirely new planet. That's it for this episode, though. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Have a good day. Adios.